Hey guys, and welcome to one of the toughest matchups in the game. We're going to be looking at Pajatron, hopefully I'm not butchering the name too much, leading the forces of the Dwarfs up against Karash and the Skaven skittering hordes. It should be a good fun game. We're on Crack Ungor, so we're certainly in a DAWI territory, and we have the old school, the classic, the unexpected DAWI rush build. It is basically full Vanguard, except for the Dwarf Lord, who shall be Belagar Ironhammer. Very thematic, him coming up against Queek Headtaker, I believe it is, for the forces of the Skaven. This is a pretty much Hail Mary Dwarvish style of play, and it can work really well up against the Skaven. Skaven have quite a few counters to it, but for the most part, Warplot Giselle meta is very huge with Skaven in this matchup, so going for the rush, I like it a lot. We have some cheap and cheerful rangers on the left-hand side, and it looks like we have some more on the right as well, supported by some Bugman's rangers, who actually have regeneration, which is really quite cool. We have miners with blasting charges dotted through the front line, including the Regiment of Renown Ironbreakers, who do indeed have Vanguard. Not only are they some of the toughest and stickiest warriors to kill in the entire game as they raise, I should say, their mighty DAWI shields to absorb some of the incoming fire. They're also one of the tankiest and, can be pretty damn cool. They look very stylish. We have some more Bugman Rangers in the central core mixing with basic Rangers, and right in the centre we have some Rangers with great weapons as well. Kind of a little surprised not to see the Regiment Renown version, but still, apart from that, it is a very cool build. And of course, we have Belagar Ironhammer leading the forces. He's going to be coming in completely naked, which makes him very cheap. He's durable, and you're not really looking to go toe-to-toe with too many of the Skaven characters. For the forces of the Skaven, we do indeed have Skaven slaves who are darted through the front line, basically here to eat miners with blasting charges, and hold back the enemy in a first suicidal wave. They're backed up by clan rats throughout the formation, who should be a bit more of a sticky nuisance. We also have double storm vermin with halberds, which you may be a little bit confused. Why would you bring halberds against dwarfs when they're anti-large? But they do actually come in with a little bit more armor piercing, so I don't hate the play. I certainly understand why he's gone for it today. We do have triple Warlock Giselles. In fact, is it triple or just double? No, it is triple. So 3 Warlock Giselles should be able to bring a bucket ton of pain to the enemy. And one of the main reasons these guys are so good against the dwarves is they in fact come in with Shield Breaker. So it doesn't matter if you've got a shield, these guys won't care. They have huge armor piercing, very good range, pretty good up against artillery crews as well. Leading the battle line, we have a Chieftain on the right-hand side giving Guardian to Queek Headtaker. Yes, it's always great to see him in action. He's not often picked, but in this matchup, I think he is very powerful indeed. He's coming in with the Dwarf Gouger, as well as Trophy Heads, Stand Your Ground, Verminous Valor, as well as Warp Shard Armor. Can go toe-to-toe with basically any dwarf character in the game. I think Ungrim might be able to give him a bit of a fight, at least while all his buffs are active. We have a Plague Priest as well, no doubt going to be coming in with a bucket ton of summons. We do have the Vermintide and Blessed with Filth as well. Interesting choices. And right in the back, we have double Death Runners. But without further ado, let's get this battle underway, as the sky is lit up now by the fireworks of the Warplot Giselles, who are doing some okay damage, but to be honest, of course, only hitting miners to start with. They're going to want to start to focus fire, get all 3 units targeting one enemy unit. For example, the Norglin's Ironbreakers try to get rid of them, or Belagar himself. Those blasting charges are being unleashed now upon the front line, and the Skaven slaves, turns out, aren't the biggest fans of fire, and I don't blame them. Most of them not even reaching the front line before they are decimated, but it is a really cheap way to get rid of those blasting charges, and now you can move up with your much more solid clan rats and storm vermin to try to pin the miners in place. Bugmans and Rangers are unleashing hell from afar now, doing some really nice damage actually across the board. And if we have a little look, you can see on the left hand side we have Miners and Rangers, and on this side a load of Rangers starting to surround the Skaven forces, which isn't something you normally see from the Dwarfs. They tend to of course be the more defensive faction here, but looping around the sides is going to give them some beautiful firing arcs. Storm Vermin do eat some blasting charges to the flank, but are starting to get engaged in the front line, and as you can see, the Chieftain and Queek Headtaker do manage to circumvent a lot of this front line and start pushing the back line really aggressively. These Rangers do not want to be in combat with the clan rats. Queek Headtaker, of course, is going to be faster than Belagar and is chasing him down with his Chieftain. The problem with this type of dwarf build, of course, is there's nowhere for Belagar to hide. He has no elite troops, no hammers or anything to protect him, so he's just got to absolutely leg it, and I don't think he's going to be too long for this world. But if he can distract this Skaven hero core, the rest of his build should hopefully be able to overwhelm the Warlock Giselles and be in a really really good position. Bugman Rangers and Rangers on the left-hand side do now seem to be focusing down the Warplock Giselles and Storm Vermin, who are getting blasted right now by the miners with those blasting charges. And in the back line, Norglin's Ironbreakers have ventured quite far into enemy territory, looking to cleave these little rat duos to pieces. I do love how they stand fighting together to the death, the best of Skaven friends. Warplock Giselles going to be going down here, at least this one unit. The other one is being focus fired down by a mixture of Rangers. They have had to switch some of their targeting though to deal with rallying clan rats. So where are the Death Runners? It looks like they've only just now decided to kind of join the party. They had quite a long trek. I do like the idea of Vanguard on them though, because Dwarfs do tend to sit back and play really defensively. But this Dwarf build, man, is so freaking cool. Miners charging onto the Giselles. It's going to be really good value for money there. It looks like all of the Giselles are either running or dealt with at the moment. And Bugman Rangers are just well and truly into that juicy underbelly of the Skaven force. Now, the Death Runners are paired up at the moment to try to cleave through the enemy as quickly as possible. I'd quite like to see them split, though. One unit go over here to hunt down these Rangers, the other this direction. But it looks like at the moment they are deciding to roll in a pair. But I suppose it will allow them to at least cleave through their enemies that little bit quicker. This unit of Rangers has been forced back. It looks like the miners, Ekron miners in fact, have kind of lost a little bit of their wind now. And the Skaven starting to also get on top of all those ranged units. They can play that game as well. Bugman Rangers do try to put their bodies on the line, and it looks like they're going to hold back the Chief, who's taking quite a pounding at the moment. But Quick Headtaker is basically full health, and Belagar is doing his little shuffle run. I always find it so funny, his little kind of like strutty walk. He's a bit of a, it looks like a bit of a rooster or something. Belagar's going to jump in, swinging that Dwarf Gouge at Belagar, and Belagar's decided, you know what? I've run all my life from Queek. I am the hero of this story. I'm going to stand and face my enemy, look them in the eye, and unfortunately get absolutely dumpstered. Because you can see Dwarf Gouger has indeed been popped, as well as Stand Your Ground, Trophy Heads. Belagar Ironhammer just stands no chance. And it looks like he's actually going to fight pretty much to the death, though. At least he didn't flee and insult his ancestors. With that, though, the balance of power is still even, because really good pressure from the Dwarf player. So good. I love seeing aggressive Dwarf play, because it's not often seen, but it's quite a hard skill to master as well, because your forces are so slow. But pressuring from all sides in one go didn't really give the Skaven anywhere to go. And it looks like all of their Giselles have now been stopped and are going to be chased off the battlefield. But there's still a bucket ton of infantry left, which is pretty scary, as well as the characters, something the Dwarfs are lacking. Rangers are okay melee combatants. I mean, almost all Dwarfs are at least alright in combat, but they're simply going to get overwhelmed here at the moment. Storm Vermin are far more elite, and Quick Headtaker has gotten into these Rangers. So this does seem like a bit of a lost cause for the Dwarves on that flank. We do have a load of their forces rallying, however, and the right-hand side of the battlefield is going a little bit better, with some of the Death Runners starting to get danger low. Good kiting here with the Rangers to always supply that crossfire. And these poor little Death Runners right now still have 54 models, but are getting now laced with bolt after bolt, and you can see that number is going to start to drop relatively soon as the Bugman Rangers continue to hold the line and push back the pesky Death Runners, who come in with these really cool Weeping Blades, for those who don't know, which does actually give minus 50% armor, which is absolutely insane. So the poor Bugman's down to just 20 armor. They've become very, very squishy indeed. Bugman's now going to focus fire down the Storm Zone. If we have a little look at ammunition, it's not actually looking too bad for the Dwarfs. A lot of the Rangers have considerable amounts of bolts left. It's going to come down to, can the Skaven now pressure the Dwarfs? The tables have turned. One really solid bit of good news for the Dwarfs is the fact that there is still 73 Norglin's Ironbreakers, up to over 200 kills as well. And they're going to be pretty fantastic against almost everything that is left. At least infantry-wise. I mean, the Death Runners will give them a bit of a run for their money, particularly alongside Quick Headtaker. But apart from that, they are going to be a super solid unit. We also have 75 miners pushing forward, who are going to try to form a makeshift shield wall in front of the Bugman Rangers, so they once again can start shooting the enemy from range. Concealment bombs have been popped, though. Good little play by the Skaven player to conceal the Death Runners so they can get nice and close to them. It looks like they're actually going after the miners. I definitely think one unit should at least be wrapping around and going after the Bugmans, because they've been able to form now a little killing ground, a little killing box, where they can shoot in from multiple angles, and the Northern Ironbreakers trying to wrap around to get a flank charge to break their morale. Really good play right there from the Dwarfs. It's the little things which really matter in this game quite a bit. In the distance, Buckman Rangers are being dealt with by the Plague Priest, and it looks like some miners and more rangers are on the way to support. We do have a chieftain who has just about shattered there. The quick head taker is up to 23 kills, and he's in the mood for DAWI blood today. And all the Death Runners have been dealt with. Likewise, the Storm Vermin have managed to rally, but they're looking very low. And this unit of Death Runners in the centre, though normally a good counter to the Ironbreakers, with that missile support, have struggled quite heavily. They've still got 116 kills, but down now to just shy of 700 HP. I think the Bugmans are actually looking to move into combat and pin these guys in place. Put down your crossbow, lads, whip out your drinks and your axes, and get in there and do the dirty work. I love the fact their shields have the little, I'm pretty sure half their shields have like little drinking mugs on them, which is really cool. Noglin and Ironbreakers are engaged with Quick Head Taker. Now, saturated, he's going to be a big problem, but if he fights alone, the Ironbreakers will eventually be able to drag down the dreaded enemy of the Scourge, almost, of the Dwarfs here. Stormvermin doing a pretty poor job trying to jump on there on the Rangers. The Rangers just laugh in their face and beat them back, and we still have more Bugman Rangers shooting into the rear, breaking up this Stormvermin unit, which is now shattered. Balance power still dead even this late into the game. We have some clan rats who definitely want to hop on top of these rangers, but the Plague Priest is on approach, so we may have 1 or 2 summons, which would be really needed right now, just to force back the rangers and buy time for Quick Head Taker to kill the Ironbreakers, because it's certainly something he can do, but it's going to take him a decent amount of time, and the Ironbreakers, they fear no rat. They're surrounding him, and no matter how many of them fall, they shall stand and fight to the bitter end here. A little bit of friendly fire coming in by the Bugman Rangers. Probably not best to shoot into the Ironbreakers. They're kind of going for a kind of pretty horrible medieval tactic there, where you'd shoot your own troops but also kill the enemy. Miners maybe want to push up as well to help support their brethren. We do see a lovely clan rat summon going down on top of the Bugman Rangers. Looks like the unit is holding though relatively firm, and we have 23 more rangers who are currently hidden, coming back to aid their support via missile pressure. Polar Linebreakers are firing under friendly fire right now, but again, any damage done to Queek can be nice. He has Blessed with Filth popped on him though, so his Ironbreakers shall now be poisoned, and you can see their stats have dropped relatively considerably. It's not a bad trait whatsoever, particularly when combined with the Warp Shard armor, giving that minus 23 armor and 5 melee defense. Stats which the Ironbreakers normally value above all else, and it looks like they're actually just about gonna be able to beat back Queek. I was wrong. Queek Head Taker, you have shamed your rat ancestors, who were probably born just a couple of years ago, but a lovely Verminous Valor is going to buy time for him to escape, but it looks like he wants to continue to scrap this one out. Maybe, just maybe, he can finish off these Ironbreakers, but when the Ironbreakers go, he's going to be really open to Bugman Ranger support. Plague Priest is taking a considerable amount of damage at the moment in combat with the Rangers. We do indeed have this unit on the left-hand side, and still a lot of ammunition left. There's not much left on the battlefield whatsoever. Just 2 Skaven models and only 159 Dwarfs. But Queek is getting surrounded. This is for Belegar. This is for all the oaths of vengeance sworn against the Skaven. They're clipping him, and it looks like the Queek is going to run away, screaming and coated in the blood of friend and foe. A very Pyrrhic victory for the Dwarfs, with just a tiny amount of Ironbreakers left and a couple of beat-up units of Bugman Rangers. Really well played to Pajartron. Again, apologies if I am butchering your name there, as well as Karash. This was a super fun one and a really unique DAWI build. I love the full Vanguard DAWI tactics. They're always super fun. For some reason, when they're picked, it's always Belegar leading them. He must have a little soft spot for the Vanguarded troops. But yeah, really cool, awesome stuff. Well played, though, to the Skaven player for making it such a close scrap. And this is one of those matchups which is really quite scary. But there have been some changes to tournament rules, which I actually think do assist DAWI a little bit. So normally you're only allowed 12 ranged units, and minus of blasting charges did count as ranged units, but they no longer do. So it's actually tournament legal. Let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This would be completely fine. Of course, it would never used to be fine, because all of these would have counted as ranged units as well, but the change to the rules is a big boon for the Dwarfs. Although going more than 12 ranged units is normally quite excessive, but up against the forces of Skaven, where you want to push and get aggressive, I really am a big fan of the plays here of the Dwarf player today. Now, we will get through the damage dealt, damage value, and kills, although Belegar probably wants us to skip over him in just a few seconds. But if you guys did enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a fat thumbs up just down below, as well as commenting on the video. What did you like? What did you not like? What were your MVPs? What were your favourite moments of the battle? And what did you think of the full DAWI Vanguard rush? Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It gives a better chance, basically, for YouTube to go, hey, look, Rubber Duck, he dropped a video. Go enjoy that. So it gives them more chance to that, and it helps support the channel as well quite a bit. Well, our next kind of milestone is going to be the 7,500 subscriber mark, where I'll be doing a giveaway and all that cool stuff. There's links down below in the description to my Patreon if you would like to support me, as well as my Discord, where you can submit replays just like Pjatron did here today, as well as get involved in tournaments, King of the Hills, and events that I host. Keep up to date and chill out with a bubbling community of over 700 people, I believe. So, let's see how the units did. Belegar Ironhammer, the hammer of the Dwarfs, unfortunately cracked and faltered pretty bad. 486 damage value is pretty pitiful with a mighty 0 kills, but he did his job, which was to distract Queek Headtaker and the Skaven leadership. Belegar's cheap, he's relatively tanky, and he did drag those characters around the battlefield, which bought time for the Dwarfs to collapse in from the flanks and overwhelm the Skaven defensive formation. Ekraminer's got a rather impressive 131 kills. Most of that, though, it seems, was on Skaven slaves, with only 440 damage value. Over 10k damage dealt, though, so that's got to count for something. Miners across the board got pretty good kills. 62, 88, 55, 58. But the damage value is pretty pitiful on most of them. I mean, 880 on this unit and 565 on the other is relatively solid, actually pretty damn good for their cost. But those ones were probably who got the blasting charges onto the Storm Vermin or got to shut down the Warplock Jezzails. One of the MVPs, and I think it might be my favourite Dwarf unit. It's really hard to say. I love Noglin's Ironbreakers. They're so good in a multitude of matchups. It's really nice to have this real tanky unit who can actually dish out the damage back in the form of those blasting charges, and you can buff them now with runes, which is really good fun. 251 kills, over 18k damage dealt, and over 2,500 damage value. Take a bow, lads. Go see those rangers and get a couple of bugmans down ya. Rangers are very cheap for the most part, although a lot of them didn't actually end up paying for themselves. This unit doing a pretty good though with just shy of 500 damage value, but they helped clear out the chaff, which was their job, and just apply pressure to all angles of the Skaven build. The Bugman Rangers are a unit for a long time I thought were pretty poor and a little bit pointless, but I've been seeing more and more people bringing them to great effectiveness here. 81 kills on this first one with 786 damage value. 420, 750, 996, and 977 damage value. These last two really standing out above the rest with 119 and 123 kills apiece. Really good Bugman Ranger play. I like their durability with the liquid fortitude, I think it's called, but it's basically them drinking beer which regenerates them. That's some pretty damn good beer. Gives them a bit of good durability in range matchups, such as Skaven, who tend to try to focus down the DAWI range in the early stages of the game. So I think they did a really solid job. Likewise, the Rangers with great weapons, you know, they didn't do so well, but you don't need all your troops to pay for themselves. As for Karash, Queek Headtaker, 66 kills, 1,400 damage value, not shabby whatsoever. The other heroes really suffered though. 382, 576 damage value on these units. It's just not quite the same. Clan rats across the board, as well as Skaven slaves, just died to the DAWI slaughter songs, which, you know, is kind of the life of a rat. The Death Runners did a good job. I mean, 711 and 1,239 damage values, not shabby. Both of them getting over 100 kills, but I do wish they had split up to apply pressure to more units in one go, making them a lot less manageable for the Dwarfs. Interested to see how the Halberds performed. Not terrible. 730 and 923 damage value. That armor piercing and extra durability did help. Unfortunately, the Warlord Jezzails just performed really badly. 600 damage value, 400, 495. That's because the Dwarfs, they knew that the Jezzails would come in, so simply didn't give them any good targets, which is a really good way of doing this, and then swarm them in the mid part of the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was a super fun DAWI fight. And until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.